Welcome to the G3X Podcast, where it's God, Jim, Grind Unfiltered. This is episode 48 of the podcast. I'm super excited. Our special guest today, someone who is super cool. Super excited to have him. His name is Victor. Victor, how you doing, man?
How's it going, Adrian? I appreciate you having me here.
For sure, man.
I'm super excited.
Nice. Excited to have you, man, for sure. I know for the audience, ultimately, Victor, unlike my other guests that I normally always say, oh, I met through Instagram or Threads or TikTok. Actually, Victor, I met him through a sales job that I used to do and that we were both there. He was one of the trainers, right? Corporate trainer CTs back then. I was one of the apprentices or whatever the term was. And so it was in sales. I really admired his hustle and his sales tactics and everything. And he was one of the persons who trained me back in the job. And it was super cool. I really respected him for that. And I'm like, hey, you know what? I love your work ethic. I love your grind, his mentality, especially at his age compared to other people his age that I've encountered before that some are lollygagging, as I would say. So eventually I left the job to focus on other stuff more with G3X, but I was like, hey, I would love to have you one day on the podcast. And here we are now.
Here we are, man. Here we are.
But Victor, let me not steal your thunder. For the audience who isn't aware of who you are, feel free to introduce yourself, where you're from, what you do, and we take it from there, man.
Yeah. So my name's Victor. I'm 19 years old and I currently go to FIU, Florida International University. And I'm currently studying political science, and I'm probably going to do a master's in law as well.
Nice.
Which is pretty cool.
Nice.
And then I do work in a sales company where we go B2B, business to business, and sell products.
There you go. There you go. I love it. So talk to me about that, especially let's say, so, you got college, right? You're studying college, you're studying political science, and then your sales job too.
Yeah.
Multiple aspects, multiple facets that you're doing. If let's say you introduce yourself, okay, you go up to someone, introducing yourself, what would be that 30-second, hey, this is who I am, pitch in a sense, since you're also doing sales.
That 30-second
your
pitch.
Personal sales pitch of yourself, I guess you could say. What would that be?
You want me to say the full 30 seconds?
Or no, or
no, I mean, I think what I would highlight the most is, obviously I'd do an icebreaker.
Right, there you go.
Good morning and stuff. But no, I'd really just make it very simple. Just make it known who I am, why I'm there, introducing myself to them. And then just explaining my background, right? I came from a Hispanic family who wasn't, we were never very wealthy. We weren't poor either, but my family, we hustle a lot. And so I think that's where I get the, where you said hustling, yeah. I think that's where I get that mentality from. Right. And just highlighting those key factors.
And what made you, let's say, get into sales? Because I know, let's say at your age, 19, from what I've sometimes people, maybe they go into something more let's say retail or fast foods. Again, nothing wrong with any of that. Or some of them decide to work at the same school, at the university, and so that they sometimes have jobs. What made you get into sales specifically? Was it always a passion you had, or like you said, your parents, they would always hustle? So
yeah. So I think, something I've been really focusing on is, finding a purpose for everything I do. The reason why I entered into the sales department is really to find my purpose for later in life, right? Why sales is important for me, but not for now, but for in the future. And so the reason really why I got into sales was just to learn those traits where I can then, apply into whatever my major is, right? Which is law or whatever it is. But actually, funny story, I was first majoring in finance. And then I just switched it to political science and law. So.
Yeah, see, I was wondering because I remember back, I'm like, wait, was he? I don't remember him mentioning he was studying that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I was like, but I don't remember what he told me. But I felt like it was something in finance. So what made you do the switch?
I think recently, like I said, I've been focusing a lot on finding a purpose for why I'm doing stuff. And when I really broke down every part of my life, one of the things was my major in college. And I realized that I didn't have a purpose for why I was doing finance. I didn't know why I was doing it. I didn't know for what I was doing it for. And another thing that have a passion for me is law and stuff and political science and stuff. And so really I dug deep for a few weeks and I found the purpose onto why I want to do this. Yeah. And I transitioned into it. Yeah. But I mean, the reason why I switched to law is I really want to help people. I like to help people out a lot. And I also want to have that experience, right?
There you go. When you were in that switch, like you said, you took a couple of weeks. How was because there's always that aspect sometimes when you're switching majors, or maybe your family. Some people can be supportive, some families maybe aren't as
Of course.
supportive. Or did you have any like pressure like that? They were like, "Hey, whatever you feel, Victor, go for it," or any pressures like that?
No,
And how
so
did you
I I
manage it?
I I think really the big part was that nobody in my family has done anything near to that,
Okay,
anything related to
to
law.
law. Okay,
Most of it's like finance or entrepreneurship. You know, my dad has a business and stuff, or even being a doctor, which my mom is.
okay,
But really, like my parents are very supportive for anything that I do.
nice.
Um, Hispanic households, sometimes
Yeah,
there can be controversy,
yeah, exactly.
but really like something that I'm really grateful for my family is that they're very supportive
That's
on
awesome.
anything that I'll do that is aligned with what God wants and stuff.
Yeah.
Um, and so I think that that's helped a lot into the decision as well. But it's a huge decision, man.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, yeah, because I remember, I know for a fact, like you said, especially Hispanic families, we're both we come
Yeah,
from a Hispanic background. And so I know sometimes there's that a little bit of a parental
yeah,
pressure where it's like, no, study these majors
yeah,
because that's where you can make the most money or this and that. I look back to my own family, myself, not much, but if I'm not mistaken, my older sister, she had, again, she was the first kid that my parents had. So they were probably still figuring out how to be a parent too.
yeah,
But I know there was like certain, like, pressures they kind of put on her of like studying specific majors, and she herself would kind of like jump around where I think she was already into those 2 years, and I think she was still trying to figure out what exactly she liked. In the end, she found what she liked, which I think was like in psychology, but initially it was like biology,
yeah,
because a veterinarian, she loved animals, but then she transitioned to like psychology because she wanted to like help people. So it's like, again, it is a big decision. And I
yeah,
know, I remember myself when I was in college. For me, I was fortunate. I always had a passion for finance. So since day one, I'm like, yeah, finance. I like the stock market. I like trading, like investing. Let's just go with it. Take it from there. But I remember a lot of people in my classes where they were like maybe finance, and they're like, oh no, but like I don't know if I'm feeling it. Maybe I want to go to marketing or like business management, or they were business management or accounting
yeah,
majors, and they're like, nah, I'm not feeling this. And what I like about you is that, okay, you took some time to think about it and you like took it. I feel like sometimes at a younger age we might overthink it too much, where it's like, hey, at the end of the day, we're not gonna have life figured out at 19, 20. I mean, I'm 26, I'm still figuring life
yeah,
out. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like you go it as you go. But I feel like sometimes, and you tell me from what you've seen maybe with your own, let's say, like peers in the university, I
yeah,
feel like they put a pressure on themselves to like know exactly what they need to do, and then they plan out the next 10 or 15 years of how they're going to live their life. Oh, I'm going to do this, graduate here, then study this, get a job here, buy a car, family. But it's like, hey, only God knows what he has planned for you. And yeah, have maybe some type of idea of what you want, but kind of go with the flow. If you try something, you don't like it, okay,
yeah,
try something else, but at least you can say you tried it, versus like that. Again, you know me, I'm a fan of Gary Vee and some of his
yeah.
content. One thing is he's like, hey, just try it, and at least you won't have that regret after,
Of
like,
course.
what if,
Yeah.
right?
And that's kind of the mentality I had when I decided to do the switch. The other thing was, dude, like I didn't want to follow the footsteps of my whole family. I wanted to be different. That's something that I think I pride myself in, even in everyday life. Whatever I do, it's I want to be different than everybody else. Whether it's me doing a sales pitch to a business owner, like I want to be different than any other salesman. Um, and so I just wanted to be different. And I think that's where like I told my parents, I was like, look, like it's a very successful career. When I put my head into something, I'll do it. And when I'm passionate about it, it's for sure that. And then, dude, like trusting God, trusting his plan, his path. And yeah, I feel like a lot of people, like, they get stuck to planning, like, okay, this is what I'm going to do here. 3 years, I'm going to be here. 5 years, I'm going to be here. It's like, I think, dude, you just got to put a lot of faith into, I mean, I'm very religious, so I feel like you just got to put a lot of faith into God and the plan that he has for you
Facts.
and
No,
just
well
keep it
said.
rolling.
Yeah, exactly. Go with the punches in a sense, and like God will guide you as long as you're following what he tells you to do. And sometimes it might seem like he's quiet,
Yeah.
but it's like that means you just got to keep doing what you're doing, and
Yeah.
eventually something else will pop up where it's like, okay, that's the next opportunity or the next step he wants
Yeah.
to take.
And if not, just ask him.
Yeah,
Ask
exactly.
him. I mean, I honestly thought that when I wasn't very religious, because I recently got very religious, I think
Mm-hmm.
Um, dude, I would never like, I'd be like, why has God not done anything, right? Like, why is he so quiet? But then when I got very religious is when I noticed, like, okay, like, he actually hears me, but I just got to ask him, right?
Yeah,
And so
exactly.
sometimes I would ask him like, hey, like, what do you think of this? And, you know,
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And as one of the aspects we like to say here, the G3X slogan, God Gym Grind. And, now as I've been like also let's say better fundamentalizing like the identity of G3X where it's like rooted in God, but it's still that aspect of putting God first. And I know one thing is like, hey, if you take the time to like seek God, what he wants you to do in life, he might not answer when you want to, but he'll answer in his timing, which is always the
yeah,
best timing,
yeah,
right?
which is always the best time for sure.
Exactly. But let me go back a little bit to what caught my eye. Like you mentioned, no one in your family then had any, like, let's say, law background. So where did that interest spark? Was it something like shows you would watch, or like what sparked that interest in law? I don't know. I'm just like super curious on that.
Nah, not any shows. Just I don't know, man. I genuinely think it was like God,
Yeah.
right? When I got into college, I was stuck into like the finance. This is only what I'm gonna do,
Mm-hmm.
but I didn't have my options
Mm-hmm.
spread out, right? And so I really like dug deep, like a few months ago, and I asked God. I was like, look, like what should I do? What path do I go? Like, guide me on the path that you want me to go.
Beautiful.
And the idea of being doing law and stuff popped in, and then all of a sudden, like, I just kept meeting people with law that
Oh,
were associated with law, right? So like, one of my best friends, his dad is a lawyer, right?
wow.
And so I met his friend and his friend. So like, I just kept meeting law, and then I thought like a few weeks ago, I was in my room one night. I was about to go to sleep, and I thought, I was like, man, I've been meeting a lot of like people related to law.
Yeah.
Like right after I asked God what path I should go to, and right after I was really breaking down every part of my life and seeing what purpose I have. And dude, I think it clicked.
There you
And so
go.
there I was like, I put the trust in God. Obviously it's a hard major, you have to study, read, write a lot, but
There you
God
go.
has a
In fact,
plan.
I would
I'm gonna follow it.
facts. Amen to that. I love that. No, and then what would you say? Let's say other maybe if any of your friends listen to this podcast or other people around your age that are maybe same thing, maybe they're in that, let's say, middle zone, for lack of a better way to describe it, where maybe same thing, maybe they're studying something, but maybe they're not feeling it anymore and they want to transition into something else, but they're not sure from what you've experienced already, doing that transition in a sense, taking that leap of faith, taking that
Yeah.
risk, trusting God that, okay, this is where the new path he's guiding me. What would be your advice then to any person, either young person or older person that again is in that process of they're studying something, but maybe now they're unsure of that and want to transition, but they have that fear of like, should they really transition or
Yeah.
not? What would you say?
And this is what I'd say for anything, not only studying, even whether you're working or whatever it is, or you want to open up an office or whatever it is. I think the main thing is really taking a step back and breaking down yourself, breaking down everything you do in your life and the purpose you have for everything, and then kind of like revamping, right? It's kind of like what you were doing with G3X, right? It's like becoming, but you're not the one you were before, but you're still revamping yourself and
Yeah.
finding a purpose for everything you do in life. And so I really think it's breaking down most parts about your life, about yourself, and seeing what you can, improve on.
I love it. I don't know if you've heard of it, and it got me thinking when you were just saying that recently, maybe like 2 weeks ago. Have you ever heard of like the Ikigai concept? Ikigai?
No.
It's actually super cool. Like it's actually a way of thinking, which is actually pretty interesting. Like when it comes to like finding what it is that you want to do in life and so forth. Let me see if I can find it here in my notes. But it's basically it asks you like it's like a little circle for the audience. I don't know if you guys can see that, but it's like a little circle. And so it's like what are you good at? What are you good at? What are you passionate about?
Yeah.
What does the world need? And like I forgot the fourth one, but it's basically a way to break down like, okay, what are all the things you're good at? Da, 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 da.
Yeah.
Then what are your passions? What are all the things you like? Does it serve the world? Oh, and then can you get like paid for it? Like,
Rewarded.
yeah, you get me. So it's like, yeah, do what you love, do what you're good at, do what the world needs, and do what you can be rewarded for, right?
Yeah.
So like then those four pillars, and then like that middle part where they all intersect, that's like your, in a sense, your purpose
That's
in
you.
life.
Yeah.
That's who you are.
Yeah.
And so I find that super cool because like you said, like you're restructuring yourself, finding who you are. Myself, for those who have been following my own content, I'm also in that process of rebranding G3X and getting more more solid as to its brand DNA, brand identity. Myself, as Victor was mentioning, based off of that research that I've been doing with the brand, I've been like rediscovering myself too, where, as you mentioned, that phrase of like, I'm still becoming, but I'm not who I was.
Yeah.
That process of like, you're still becoming that man, that person you want to be, that better man that you're still becoming, but you weren't who you were before, like that broken, lost, without purpose person from the past, in a sense, right?
And that's where I felt like a few months ago. I just felt like my life was at rock bottom, and I was just like, what the hell am I doing? Like, I was literally like, I went one day home from work, and I was like, yo, what am I doing? Like, I was lost in everything I was doing. Like, you know, I've gone through a few stuff, and so then is when I, obviously, like, I prayed to God a lot more, and then I really, like, I think the main thing is everybody's got to like break down every part of their life, but for me to be able to do that at 19 years old, and I'm still growing, man. Like, obviously, like, I'm still fixing stuff that I've had mistakes for before, but I think I'm still pretty young.
No, for sure, for sure. No, I mean, we're all like so much ahead of us. You know
Yeah,
what I
so
mean?
much, man.
And one thing I do agree there is like having, I mean, myself too, whereas like I was at a rock bottom in one point in my life, which is where eventually the idea of G3X came. Actually, before that, at a rock bottom, which was push me to get closer back to God, because it was like a heartbreak situation. And, I kind of told you my story, like, yeah, were you there? No, it was back when we were in the sales job, when we were going to like Cape Coral, but I was riding with, it was the second trip that we had sold everyone, so I had to go back do all the installs.
Installations,
and so I was with Onelio and like the other people in his car, Sammy, I think, and I forgot who else. And so with them, as I told the story, but I don't know if I ever told you the story, but basically it was like a heartbreak whole situation. I was coming back from a flight from Dubai, and this girl had been talking for like a year already, a year and a half from church. And there was a slight moment before that trip where we got in a little argument. So we kind of stopped talking for like a month or two, right? It was like that big of an argument. But then it's like, okay, we're like, hey, okay, let's bygones be bygones, whatever. So we started talking again. So during that trip, I decided to get her like a little surprise gift, like a little like custom. There was a nickname I would give her. And so I had that little nickname in Arabic.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, let me just surprise her. All I texted her was like, hey, I'm going to bring you something. What's your favorite like little stone? And so whatever. So crazy. So check this out. We're on the flight back. It's like a 14-hour flight from Dubai back to Miami. So it's like brutal. So I had noticed that she was tagging this person in her story, like an account, but the account was private and it was like a picture of a car. So it's like, so I was like, okay, interesting. She's not one to tag anyone.
Yeah.
So I'm like, hey, so who's this person? And I decided to ask her when I was flying back from Dubai. Mind you, we were like already talking. Like I was there for like a week already. Yeah. So we had been talking, whatever. And then she takes a while to respond. I kind of knocked out in the plane after for like 30 minutes. When I woke up, it was like a long message. You're like, oh, shoot. Oh, shoot. What's this about? And then the first line, she's like, he's my boyfriend. Like that, straight up like that. He's my boyfriend. And then whatever, the long ass message of like, basically, it's not my fault, it's your fault for like you stop talking to me or whatever, blah, blah, blah. So obviously that, when I read that hurt. Like that was like the whole flight. I was like, thank God it was a night flight, so all the lights were off. But I was like with my hoodie, like kind of like tears coming down, cause like that thing hurt. So anyways, I remember getting home. My mom picked me up. I texted my mom that had some flight. I'm like, yo, mom, this just happened. Like, I feel like crap. And she's like, damn, like, yo, I'm so, that sucks, whatever. So I still remember, it's bad when you're in the airport, your mom, like my mom's there, she picked me up. I got in the car and I gave her a hug, and like, you just broke down completely. You know what I mean? Like, just broke down. I still remember, like, broke down crying. She's just there hugging me, whatever. So whatever, I get home, unpack and everything. I'm like, you know what? I don't want to be like feeling like this. I remember I'm like, I'm gonna just go hit the gym. Back then I was more like running. Like I was just more running and everything. And then I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna just lock in the gym and, hoodie, like that, like whole dark hoodie on, some rock music, like, and then whatever, I'm just hitting the weights. And then that eventually sparked my more like serious journey of the gym, where it's like, you know what? Basically, whenever I felt sad, I'm like, let me just go hit the gym and just kind of like release that pain like through the weights, just like lifting weights. And it helped a lot mentally, both running, lifting weights. And then I've always wanted to get bigger, but I never put myself to learn about bulking, diets, and everything. I had a friend who was a trainer from my university, Barry. And so I was like, hey, bro, look, I want to get more serious. Can you train for me? So he trained me for I did a program with him for 3 months. And then that's where my gym journey started, where I was serious with the gym and everything. Eventually, that's where I started saying God, gym, grind.
Yeah.
Where it's like, hey, I need to put God first, because God first, I wasn't putting God in that relationship at all. I was just doing my own thing. The gym was like my outlet, and grind in my old job, same thing. It was a lot of calls and consultation. I'm like, hey, I just got to grind through, got to get it done.
Yeah.
And that was my phrase of just stay focused, God, gym, grind. And then fast forward, eventually sometime that led me to starting G3X, where, here I am now. So to say all that, like how you were saying, sometimes you have to be broken, or sometimes maybe God doesn't necessarily want to break you, but because of our own stubbornness or just lack of obedience, sometimes he kind of has to kind of break us to hit that rock bottom, and oh, you know what? We really can't do anything without God. I'm really nothing without God. That was that point for me, and that heartbreak situation. Yeah, I'm nothing without God. At the end of the day, and built myself back up. By no means have I been perfect. There's still been other mistakes I've made, and again, as mentioned, still becoming. But I think it's cool how you mentioned that aspect that I could relate to you, and that feeling broken, and then kind of refinding yourself, and then building yourself back up.
Yeah, rebuilding yourself back up. It's I went through the same situation, a similar situation as well. And I was in a 2-year relationship, and it ended because college and stuff, and we were very immature in the relationship, right? We were very young, but I think it's the best thing that's happened to me. Besides number one is finding God, but number two is this breakup, right? Is I think that's the best thing that's ever happened to me, because now I get to take a step back, realize where I fucked up, and then now I can rebuild myself, and I think I'm I'm becoming right, but I'm not the person I was before.
Bro, I agree with you. I'm same thing with me. I look back, it's it's probably one of the best things that happened to me, because it led me to be more serious with the gym. It led me to start the clothing brand. It led me to then start the podcast, which then led me to meet all the amazing guests I've had in the podcast, find myself better, meet new people, get into other aspects. So it's hey, it was my win.
Yeah.
At that point in time, I look back and it hurt. That hurt, was miserable for sometimes you're just randomly there, and a random tear just starts, because I'm you're yo, what's up? But then eventually, you just get over it. You feel it less and less, it hurts less, and you heal from it, to the point where I bumped into her earlier this year, actually, after 2 years of not seeing her. I bumped into her, and I saw her, and I was I felt nothing. Neither, no, how sometimes maybe you see a person again, and there's that little slight little little feeling in your heart, oh, it kind of still hurts.
Yeah, for sure.
Or I literally saw her, and there was literally nothing.
Yeah.
Neither nor hate, nor regret, nor in Spanish I think it say rencor. I don't know how you say that in Spanish, in English, but nothing positive for her, but nothing negative either.
Yeah, you don't hate her.
Yeah, oh, what's up? It was literally someone I hadn't seen. Oh, what's up? How are you? And it was funny situation. So back in church, because that church, they asked me to cover for them, because you remember I used to do production and lights. So the guy who does lights there, I used to do lights before him for many years. So whenever something he has to travel, he asked me to cover for him. So he asked me to cover for him. Just so happens that they were there too. And so it was weird. They came, the family. I was cool with their parents. The parents were super cool with her, whatever. So they came, they said hi. But she was just there in a corner, not talking.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm oh, hey, what's up? Is how you again, when you have nothing against someone you've healed, oh, hey, what's up? It's good to see you. Because you're oh, yeah, it's cool to see you. And then she was literally just there hesitant, and she's well, not for me. Literally like that. She said, well, not for me. And then I'm so are you here?
Yeah.
So I'm well, anyway, see you guys later. And then I was already leaving, because I had to head out and there. But it was just an interesting situation where it's hey, when you truly healed, in my opinion, you really healed when you could see that person again and neither have nor hate nor anything against it. Hey, that means you truly healed, because you have nothing for that person. And I think that's,
and I've had so I've had a few instances where I've had people that they've done some fucked up shit, and I wouldn't be the type of guy to forgive. Normally I'm the type of guy where if you do something bad to me,
that's it,
or do something bad to anybody around me, that's it, we're done. But ever since I found God a year ago, I learned to forgive, right? And so it started with that person, right, where I asked God, like, can you please help me forgive this person? And it happened, right?
Wow.
And then, after this breakup with this girl, like, obviously it hurt and stuff. Like, it was a 2-year relationship,
Imagine.
but we didn't talk for, this happened. We broke up in, I think right after you left
Oh
the sales
wow.
job. Yeah. So that
Oh
was
wow.
probably what, like,
Like
July.
yeah, around July,
Yeah.
August, yeah.
So July, August, that's where we broke up. And then, dude, we didn't talk for like 5 months.
Wow.
And recently is when she texted me for my birthday. My birthday's November 9th. So
Oh
she
sure.
texted me for my birthday, and she was like, hey, like, I hope you're doing well, whatever. And like, I didn't feel hate for her, right? Because I healed, and then God gave me the ability to forgive.
Nice.
And so, like, I've been texting her and stuff, and, like, like, we're cool now.
Yeah, there you go.
We're friends and stuff. But I think having the ability to do that, I think, shows like
Yeah, maturity.
how mature
Yeah,
you
yeah,
can
because
be.
some people can't handle that. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
no, that's
because I know people that there's stuff that had better stuff that's happened that they can't talk.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And
So
one thing I've learned from my mom too, also, because she also helps like sometimes like with like couple counseling or whatever. And she's like, hey, if you don't forgive a person, you're just hurting yourself.
yeah,
Because like you fill yourself with all this bitterness and resentment. There you go, resentment.
yeah,
That's the Spanish word for rencor,
yeah,
resentment. So like bitterness, resentment. But the other person is just like chilling.
yeah,
They're like in, Bali, enjoying their life, whatever, doing whoever with their new person, but you're still like holding all that inside you, so you're just kind of like hurting yourself. But
yeah.
when you let go, it's like
And
you
that's how
feel free. It's like a burden
yeah.
off of you.
And that's how I felt the first time with the first person. Was like, and this wasn't a girl. This is like it was a relative of mine, and I just felt like I was hurting myself because I wasn't forgiving them. So I kept having that hate for them.
Mm.
And then when somebody, and I think this is very important as well for all of viewers watching. I think when you have a close, tight circle of people that you can rely on, that you can go to whenever you're going through something, I think that's the most important part.
Facts.
Like, you have God, but then you have the people around you that you're surrounded by.
Yeah.
And I was very lucky to be surrounded by very good people. And I just, I was told, like, yo, like, you gotta stop doing this. And that's when I found God, and
There
then
you go.
everything happened.
There you go. That's awesome. I love that story. I also wanted to talk to you a little bit more on, with respect, getting back a little bit to like the sales aspect
Yeah.
too. Talk to me a little bit about that, your experience in sales, because I know with sales, like you were said, it helps a lot in like your people skills, speaking skills, presentation skills. But at the same time, there's that, I would say, probably to this day, that negative stigma of salesmen that, oh, they're always pushy, or they're not honest, or they're just trying to sell me stuff. Your own experience in sales, because one thing I do remember in the sales job, you're one of like the best salesmen there, and hence why you reached corporate trainer, etc. One thing that I remember that they taught us in the job too was like, how to handle like, rejections, because you're always gonna get,
Yeah.
99% of the time you're always gonna get said no, no, no.
I'm glad you still remember, because I think I was the one that taught you.
So it's like, how did, like, when you first showed up day one on the sales job, and then your, let's say, evolution
yeah.
on that, how has that been for you, handling rejections, handling no's, always those rude clients that maybe
Yeah.
like, yo, get the F out of my house, F you, whatever. I remember one scenario with Mortada. We were at a, I forgot where we were at. The guy comes out. He's like, yo, you guys are all fraud. There was a guy from one of you guys came. Like, that wasn't us. It's like, but he was pissed for no reason. But anyways, like, from day one to now, how have you been able to manage that and like get better in your own, let's say, presentation, speaking? Like, what does it take to succeed in sales?
And the transformation's insane, right? Since the first day I got there to now. And, like, the first day I got there, I was a very shy person. I wouldn't talk with very many people,
Wow.
right? I just talked to the people I was close to, but I wouldn't go out of my way to speak to strangers and stuff. And dude, I learned a lot, and the people there are really, really good people. So I learned a lot from them. And once I got trained and I knew everything I had to do, now I just had to go implement it.
Yeah.
And so obviously it was a struggle in the beginning, right? Implementing everything is very systematic. But I think once I got it down, dude, I was able to, speak with people, handle objections. I was the type of guy that, like, I would get, like, if they had no objection, like, if they were like, oh, like, get out. Like, I'd be pretty, like, not hurt, but I'd be like, yo, like, what did I do, right? And so, but now it's different. Now it's like I just have a different mentality. I think I was trained to be like this now, And so, dude, the evolution is insane, and I'm very grateful for being in this job. It's taught me so much.
That's
And now I can go to like a supermarket.
just
You
pitch.
know, I'm just doing whatever my groceries, and then I could just literally talk to anybody.
Nice.
Like the other day, I talked to this person for like 45 minutes. It was a random guy, but he was like, you know, like I came up to him, I was like, hey, like, so what do you do? Because he had a suit on, so like I was trying to see what, you know, and I'm just able to have those conversations with strangers, and it's pretty cool.
Would you say one aspect in sales to like succeed in sales is like being curious, just because like you saw him with a suit, so like, oh, I just wanted to ask him? Would you say like having that curiosity?
Yeah, I think having curiosity, but I think the most important trait in sales is hard work.
Mm.
Like, I mean, you went to the field with me. We call it the field. We went to the field with me, and dude, I mean,
Yeah,
it was hard
you
work.
gotta
We just
grind.
kept knocking on doors, and you know, we kept talking to people, seeing what we could
LOAs,
do, LOAs, and so it's pretty cool, right? And I think, dude, sales has taught me so much, and I think it's also why I changed my major as well, because right now I'm in a path of like, okay, what am I doing right now? Okay, I'm doing sales right now, like. I'm a very good public speaker now, so now let me just implement those skills. Like I got into sales to get better at people talking, to get better at presentation, to get better, at talking with people, and like that just ties in perfectly to law and all that.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I was like, yo, this is exactly what I got to do.
I love it.
Yeah.
Share with us like maybe like a high and low. Like what would you say like one of like the worst moments maybe in your sales job, and then like maybe one of the best
Yeah.
moments?
No, of
I could
course.
go.
And so like obviously the worst moments are like, because sales is commission based. And so obviously like, if you don't sell, you don't make money.
Yeah, yeah.
So I've had a week, right? I've never gone past a week, but I've had 1 week where like I don't sell, and I just made $0, and then I'd go home like at the end of the week, I'd be like, yeah, I can't do this again.
Yeah.
Like this cannot happen again,
Yeah.
right? And then just changing that mentality up. Ironically, actually, like I had a very bad week. I made $0 in 1 week, and then like I had that mentality where I was like, yo, I'm not gonna do this again. Like I cannot allow this to happen again. And so 2 weeks, the next week I did decently well. And then the other week later, I had the biggest paycheck I've ever had.
Wow.
And I was like, yo, like it's crazy.
The hard work.
Yeah, the hard work.
I love how you mentioned, because I would say definitely then is that aspect of, as you mentioned, hard work, having that grit, not that passive attitude or something, because someone else would have been like, oh, that's it, like, and not maybe strive to be better. Was there anything different after that week, let's say, of no sales, that you did differently? Like maybe you went to hit even more businesses, or you just maybe pushed a little harder with
Hmm.
any objections, anything different
No,
that happened that you learned from it too?
I think I think I just changed the way that I was doing stuff. Right, I changed my mentality. My mentality was, like it was whatever, but I changed my mentality, and then I just started like focusing more on like, okay, if I do this, then I'm gonna get to this part. So then now let me do this, and then I can close them, right? And so I just focused a little bit more on the system. We call it networking over there. And so I would like talk to the best people in the company. I'd be like, yo, so like what helped you get from here to here? And then they would all say the same thing. And now the same thing was like, oh, stick to the system, right? Be systematic. And I didn't really listen to it. But then after that bad week, I was like, yo, okay, let me try it out. And I tried it out. I stuck to the system, and dude,
There
it
you
helped.
go.
It helped me, get that best week.
There
Right?
you go. I know one thing I like when it comes to like some of Alex Hormozy content, that he talks a
Yeah.
lot about sales, and one of the things he mentioned is in the videos, like stick to the effing script, like
Yeah.
just stick to the script.
Yeah, man.
That's one of the things he tells a lot of his salesmen when they're training them, like stick to the script,
Yeah.
just follow the script. Because like you said, if you're not following the script, then it's hard to measure like what are you doing wrong, because you're not following the script. So
Yeah.
like, how do we correct you if you're not following the script, right?
Yeah.
But let me ask you the following too now, because I know also yourself, aside from going out on the field doing sales yourself, you also have to like train people and like teach them the sales methods and the process, etc. What has, let's say, teaching others taught you? Because they say that there's this quote, I don't know if the exact quote goes, but it's something like, if you can't teach it to someone else, then you really don't understand it
Yeah.
yourself, or something like that. So what has that aspect, like, okay, you learn sales, you got to corporate trainer, now you're teaching others. How was that now experience of like teaching others the sales skills and ability, and what did that, let's say, teach of yourself, or what did you learn of yourself trying to teach others about that?
Yeah, I think a few things, right? I think number one is being able to replicate myself. That's kind of where the quote, like kind of the motto of the quote is being able to replicate yourself. If you are doing things correctly, they will too, right? The new person. So I've been able to train a lot of people, you and other people just like reach that next step out of training to get to like we call it account executive to when you're alone on the field. And what I've learned is like really like breaking it down for these people because they're brand new, so they don't really know like the full end of what we do. And so breaking it down and being able to replicate yourself. But man, I think like showing them like just grinding,
Yeah.
installing that hard work into them. That's why I really loved going out with you because,
Yeah,
bro,
yeah.
you were hard work. You were
Bro,
like, yo, like we're
funny
gonna go
story.
out.
One time we were pitching like at 12 in the morning.
Bro, it was
Remember?
crazy. It was like,
We were
no, it was
pitching
like
gas stations and
1,
stuff.
2 in the morning.
Yeah,
It was
yeah,
crazy.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because and actually, funny thing is, we went like we went back to like the house over there, and
Oh,
it was like 9 o'clock, and then we ate dinner, and then after dinner, I told you guys like, yo, like let's go out at like
go
1
pitch.
a.m., bro.
Yeah.
Let's go out and pitch, because it was like, why not?
Why
Fuck it,
not? Yeah,
fuck
yeah.
it.
Facts. 100%.
And
Why
that's
not?
kind of the mentality I've tried to implement now. Is like that mentality of like, yo, like fuck it, I'm gonna just do it, right? I'm not really thinking too much into the future. I'm thinking about now and what I can do now. How I can attack it.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's like I said, I think I've changed a lot since I joined the company, but also I think I've changed a lot since I last saw you. So
Yeah, no, it's true because I think definitely like myself too. I reflect back in college in finance.
yeah,
Because sometimes I was managing director of this like finance club called Smith Student Managed
hmm
Investment Fund, and so I would my third year. I joined since freshman, so like by my third year, then I got you're like upping the ranks, and then finally became managing director. That was my main goal going into the school actually, and so I had to run the day-to-day meetings, like not the day-to-day, the weekly meetings, the plan, like okay, what teams are pitching, create the teams. Okay, you're part of this team, you're part of that team, etc., and then I'll have to open up and start. And sometimes I would have to like present a specific topic. Maybe the
right,
professor asked me, the faculty advisor, hey, I want you to talk about this in today's meeting. I'm like, okay. And so I would have to like be able to, in a sense, teach.
yeah,
And so as I was practicing, sometimes the first few times I'm like, yo, I'm struggling. Why am I struggling to explain this when in my head I feel like I get it? And that really opened my eyes, like, okay, I still lack that understanding. And
yeah,
then as I got better with it, some people would even tell me like, hey, why aren't you the professor? I understand you better than the professor. And I'm like,
yeah,
damn, that's crazy. But just like you said, having a good fundamental, because like you said, if you're able to replicate yourself, then you really know. I look back also to back in production where as when like maybe I had needed someone to cover for me, or when I was in that process of leaving the job I was at in production to go somewhere else. And so I was like the person who stayed, it was like kind of showing him the ropes, like, hey, look, this is how I program, this is how I do this is how I do that, and kind of like doing my best as possible in the short time frame that I had to like become a mini me.
yeah,
And the same things, then you start realizing like, oh snap, wait, I just I did this because it just in my head it clicks. But how do you explain that to someone who like, you know what I mean? Like, how do you explain, like in your head it clicks because you just do it like this, but like how do you explain it to someone so that they understand it too as well?
yeah,
And I sometimes feel that's like the tricky part, and it definitely
for
shows
sure.
you, like it shows you better if you really understand something or not, if you're able to show it to someone, teach it to someone, explain it
Yeah,
to someone. And I think that's something that you did a good job, because I remember when we were doing like those mock pitches
yeah,
too, and it made like a lot more sense how sometimes you would explain it versus like how I read it in the document. I'm like, wait, but what does this mean? And then like when you guys were acted out, I'm like,
yeah.
okay, that makes a lot more sense, right? Now let me ask you the following then. How are you? I want to talk a little bit about time management too. At your age, your focus, obviously, you're focused on your goals, what you got going on, your work, your schools, your studies. How do you go about with your time management then? If you got studies, you got school, you got work, anything else that you got going on, do you use like a time tracking app? What they call like time blocking, or talk
Yeah.
to me a little bit about some productivity when how do you go about managing?
Yeah. So this was another issue that I had when I really hit like rock bottom is like I was not managing my time correctly at all. I was a very bad time managing guy. And so really when I sat back and I broke down everything, I realized that time management was one of the most important things. And so now, like what I'm starting to do now is literally I started from last week is I write down stuff. I bought a planner, like a planner book. And so now I just write down stuff for that week, right? Some appointments, the classes that I have, any homework, any tests that I have. And I really try to manage my time best possible, right? Because I think the more organized you are in life, the more successful you are. And I think that's helped me at least. I started last week, so I have to still like see how it goes, but it's been helping me a little bit.
Nice.
And yeah, like I said, like I'm still playing around with stuff, but I'm glad that I was able to realize that my time management is bad. What I see from a lot of people my age nowadays is that like they have a lot of flaws in some areas, but they don't realize it, right? So they can't fix it. But I'm so happy that I was able to realize that flaw, and now like I'm trying different things to fix it. But yeah, I go to school twice a week, Mondays and Wednesdays.
Okay.
I actually have class today at 7 p.m.
Oh, snap. Oh, wow.
Yeah, but
So right after here, going to class.
yeah. But yeah. So like I go to school Mondays and Wednesdays, and then work every other day, and then
Okay.
Sundays I go to church and stuff.
Okay, nice. Yeah, I know. For me, I've tried different things. I've tried like especially like working from home for myself is like, have you heard of Pomodoro? You know, a little like timer that's like, I think
I've heard of it, but I'm not too
it's
very
like
educated.
25-minute blocks that you start the timer. I think is a 25 or 30-minute blocks that you like, okay, you start the timer and then you just focus on that one specific task for those 30 minutes. When the timer is up, you could take like a 5-minute rest or something and then either continue the same task for another 30-minute block if you haven't finished it, or start the next task. And then I tried that for a little bit, did time blocking where it's like I would like kind of map out my day.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's like it's a grind, like in a sense that you kind of have to figure out what works best for you. For me, I found like a mixture of like time blocking with Pomodoro worked well for me. But then there were other days where I just had to like, even if I wanted to plan out stuff, you know, sometimes unexpected things happen and you just have to like kind of go with the flow, but still try to keep yourself like, okay, I'm going with the flow for today. I had planned, but I still gotta make sure like these non-negotiables, like despite how hectic my day is, like, hey, I still, at least for me, let's say I still gotta at least hit the gym, be it in the morning or at night, or at least I still gotta go do my run.
Yeah.
Or I still gotta like at least find some time to like pray or read the Bible, or
Like hit these goals for the day.
Yeah, you get me? Like specific, I would say like non-negotiables.
Yeah.
It's like no matter what, you try to always do that. For you, are there any specific non-negotiables that like, let's say help keep you grounded, be it mentally, spiritually, physically, that you're like, no matter what, you try to always make sure you hit or do these specific things each and every day, and that it just again helps you maybe stay grounded and stay focused on what you got to do, etc.
And so recently what I've been doing with the planner, the whole structure for the planner is to write down like your goals for that day. And I name it goals because I'm trying to become more goal oriented.
Oriented, yeah.
And I wasn't like that before. I was just like, okay, I don't know what my goals are. Now I'm trying to kind of become very goal oriented. So now I'm just putting my goals there and really trying to drill those goals for the day, make sure I tick each one of them off. Whether it's going to, 3 or 5 mile run, or, studying for this test that I have on, Wednesday or whatever, like make sure I hit those goals for the day. Or even whether it's to hit like 60 businesses on the day that I don't go to school, is like, okay, I need to do that, right?
Okay.
And so I've been trying to become more goal oriented, so I'm seeing how that goes.
Nice. There you go. No, I like that. Yeah, no, it gives you something to look forward to.
Yeah.
Because if you have nothing, because I've been in that situation before where I would just kind of like,
it's horrible.
Like go with the flow.
Yeah, it's horrible.
And then you're like, the hell did I do today?
Exactly.
I felt like I just wasted my day. What the heck? So it's like, nah, at least let me like do something. So sometimes in the mornings I'll be like, okay. Or like the night before, I'll kind of like, okay, this is like the plan for tomorrow. Kind of like a little outline.
Yeah.
And then we'll see what happens. Because again, maybe something unexpected happens, but this is kind of like the goal. Like, okay, like like for example, today in the morning, I went for my run, did my run. From there, I got back and I was like, okay, I need to edit some reels from like last week's podcast that I'm scheduling out for this week. Also some other reels for next week's podcast, etc. And just kind of like, okay, let me edit some of these reels, start editing some stuff, create like the thumbnail. I have someone helping me that's working me on the thumbnail. I'm like, okay, got this done. now boom for today's podcast, but kind of having like an outline of what you plan to do. Because if not, then it's like you just waste away your day.
Creating a purpose for that day.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I think that's the most important part. I can relate to that. Like I felt like I was just what the hell was I doing that day? And I said it earlier, but like what the hell was I doing that day? And so it's really like, dude, finding out the purpose for that day, what you're trying to accomplish, and really doing it, right? Sometimes, you can find ways to hold yourself accountable.
Exactly.
And that's very big, right?
Yeah. Talking about accountability actually got me thinking, like when it came, I remember earlier you mentioned something of like, hey, how you have like a closed circle. Now in school, how has that been? Have like any new people you've met, or how do you determine if that person could be a good fit for your circle or not? Are you like picky with that or pretty flexible? And then like talk to me a little bit about that actually. I'm just curious, like.
No, that's a good question. So after the whole situation with this girl, I just started looking at people differently, because like the truth is, like, people sometimes lie about who they are. And so I've been looking at people a little bit differently, and I've always had the ability to like have a good friend group around me, have people that are good friends. But now, like, I mean, I talk to people in college and stuff, and I make friends, but like I kind of separate into two groups. It's like I have my close friends, and then these college friends, which are they're my friends, and I like they're my boys, right? But like they're not yet in that tight circle where like if something's going on, I'm gonna go to them to like tell them that, right? Like that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I have that type of group, and then I have the group which are my boys, like boys for life, right? But like I just divide into two groups. I have people that like if I'm going through something, like I'm gonna
those
like
are your main people.
no, like I'm just gonna throw myself to them and like make sure like they help me back up. And then these people are like my boys, like the ones that I vibe with, right?
I get you.
But like really, it's really about knowing how to like. I think in sales, one of the attributes is you're able to read people.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know if that's something that you learned while you were there, but something that I've learned that is reading people, reading their body, reading the way they talk to you, their eye contact, whatever. I think that's helped me with, starting college, right? Talking to new people, creating new friends and stuff. So,
yeah.
But I've connected with a lot of new people at FIU. I mean, FIU is great.
It's a big. My uncle is actually one of the professors there, but I think in the engineering department, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, so it's a big school too.
Oh, it is. Yeah,
it's a huge school.
It's a lot of. I mean, it's very diverse though. Hispanics.
Yeah, crazy. Yeah. It my school, same thing, was a little similar, a little off topic here, but my school was like everyone but wasn't from the US. Like that's how diverse it was. It was like everyone, but they weren't from, like, of course you had some people from like Miami or whatever.
Yeah,
but it's like almost everyone was like from Europe or Central America, South America, like Guyana, Belgium, France, England. It's like everyone, but they weren't from US, which is kind of funny.
Europe is awesome.
Yeah. And some cool people too. Like Europeans be pretty cool. But let me ask you the following, and I'm guessing then with those friends too, like I guess another filter, I would assume, you tell me, because like based off of your own goals and ambitions, I'm sure you're like, maybe with some of them you're like, oh yeah, this is kind of what my plan for the future is. And then there's always those people in the group that they're like, oh yeah, I'm just like, what's your goals, man? I don't know. Like they don't have anything. They're just going with the flow. But then there's always those people that are like more focused or like more aligned. I'm guessing that's probably like some other filter you use to decide.
It is. Yeah, it is. So I have this friend group, right, where like I'm boys with all of them. They're like brothers for life. But there's some that are more focused than others, and you can tell by the way they act and stuff. But like even when I was doing the change from major from finance to law, like I had the opinion of other people as well. I was like, yo, like what do you think? And it's like I spoke to the people that were focused and that do the hard work. That's the people that I asked the opinion from. But really the main thing is yeah, I mean, of course, I think anybody has a filter for that. But yeah, I have a filter for that, of course.
Nice. I love it.
Yeah.
I want to ask you two more questions here, Victor, as we're like wrapping up the podcast. It's been amazing having you. We talked a lot about your background, both like your faith background and let's say your career, like with sales, your studies and everything. So one question I want to ask you here that I've written down is like, for example, a lot of other young believers might feel like, let's say, torn. Like, let's say they're chasing success, like a lot of they feel torn in like chasing success or staying, let's say, spiritual. So what would you say to other like 18 to 20-year-olds who, let's say, have a passion for Jesus, believe in God, but they say maybe they also want a big a big life, be it in like business, sales, law, politics, and what would be your advice to them that maybe they feel torn that either it's being successful or being spiritual, if that makes sense, where
Yeah.
it could be both, not necessarily just one or the other.
Yeah, I think the message is pretty clear. I mean, I think you have to tie in God, faith into that part of whatever business or whatever it is, and that's what I've been starting to do. I always thought it was one way or the other, but recently, ever since I broke down like the way that I handle my life, is like I can just tie in both, and with God's like power and me having faith in Him, He's gonna guide me in the path that He wants me to go to. And I'm a big believer in that now, and I think that's what other young people at my age should be as well, right?
Facts. I love that. A
Is
great answer.
combining both of them to be able to become successful, but also like, dude, I pride myself on. I think it's very important people to become humble, um,
Amen.
and I think that's very big. Becoming humble and just being very grateful and thankful for what God has given you.
Something I've learned the hard way. I'm not
Yeah,
gonna
man. I mean,
lie.
everybody has. Like, I have too. Like, bro, I was immature. Like, or I mean, I still everybody's still a little bit mature, but like, I was very immature a while ago, and I mean, I would be like cocky or whatever.
Yeah.
But I've learned right through like hard stuff, and even through God is like, yo, like I gotta be humble. I gotta be grateful for what I have, and I gotta trust in my
Facts.
faith in God. So, and I
There's
think
that.
that's something you rely on very heavily,
Yeah,
Adriel.
yeah. There's that Bible verse when you mention of like humble that reminds me a lot that I have to remind myself because same thing. I've been in situations even nowadays where I feel like pretty cocky or get a little like hot headed where
Hmm.
you're like, whoa, Angel, bájate,
Yeah,
bájate de la nube, as my mom
yeah,
says. And so it's like humble. There's a Bible verse I forgot where I think in Hebrews, but I could be completely off on the book. But all I know that it definitely says is like humble yourself before the Lord, and He will exalt you in due time. And that one really hit me
that does.
because it's like, hey, just humble yourself before the Lord in the sense that you know everything that you've achieved or done, it's all because God gave you that ability. It wasn't because you're smart or you're good looking. It's like, hey, because God allowed me to do this. And then in His timing, He'll exalt you.
Yeah.
Like He'll be the one to bring you whatever level of success or fame or recognition that He has planned for you. But don't go looking for it yourself. Just wait in His timing,
In
right?
his timing, because whenever he does it, that's going to be the best time for it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, and you know, I think anything that happens in my life or whoever's life, anything that happens in your life, I think it's meant for a reason. Whether it's very harsh or whether it's very good, it happens for a reason. And I think the most important part, I think for people to know is, when you go through those hard times, through those low times, is to be able to rely on the faith and then build yourself back up and be able to find, I think, that purpose
Yeah,
that you,
like learn from it, right?
yeah, learn
Like for
from it.
example, I'll take. So some of you guys might have seen the video. I know you did see it of like
Yeah,
big recent. Let's say I guess you could say a mistake, or I wouldn't say mistake because I learned from it. If it hadn't happened, I would have
of
realized
course.
it. But let's say with the whole Kingdom Grind collection that I did, where it opened my eyes of like, hey, you know what? This wasn't really G3X. Like I launched something that doesn't go with who I am and is not an extension of the brand. So why did I really launch it? And just open my eyes of how much I was lacking in like again brand identity, brand structure. And like you said, it was like a low point for me in the sense of like, damn, like what do I want from G3X? And it made me realize, like, imagine you're a founder of something and you're not even sure what you
Yeah,
want to do. So it really opened my eyes there. So looking back, it was like, hey, that was a good thing to happen because now it's like I'm way more. I mean, you've seen the new stuff that we've been creating with
yeah,
myself, and it's like I'm much more aligned, much more guided. It's like, okay, God, sorry because back to being humble, back to like trusting God, where it's like sometimes, I like to say God first,
yeah,
but sometimes you get caught up in the motion of like, oh yeah, let's do this launch. Oh yeah, that person who came up to me also has a Christian background, so it should be fine. God is in that. But looking back is like, did I genuinely take the time to truly pray and ask God, hey God, do you want me to do this launch or collection? Maybe a quick prayer, hey God, que todo salga bien.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
but that's it. But there wasn't a real prayer, and then it explains why the launch wasn't as successful, and then why it wasn't, and why it wasn't like with G3X, and then whatever. It led me to where I'm at now, and excited for what 2026 is gonna come with G3X and everything else. But like you were saying, like trusting God and learn from those hard moments. Because
Yeah.
if you don't learn from it, then you're gonna keep repeating it until you do learn it.
Yeah. And I think it's learning and growing. Like, I think, it's like I told you, ever since I kind of like broke down every part of my life, it's like I'm still improving, but I'm not even near where close to where I
Yeah.
want to be.
Yeah.
That's why
Yeah.
I think I rely upon the message that you give a lot. If for the audience, if they don't know, if you guys go to his Instagram profile, Adriel's Instagram profile,
Yeah.
it says becoming, but not who I am. Right?
Yeah.
You're not the person who you were before, but you're becoming a new version of yourself. And so that's something that I've been looking at now. It's like I'm not even close to where I want to be.
But you weren't where you were
But I
before.
was not what
So
I
you're
was
making
before.
progress and
But I'm
then keep
making
going
progress.
forward.
I'm
Yeah.
still fixing stuff that. But I think
Exactly.
something I watched your video, and something that like I was very pumped was like you took accountability,
Yeah.
right? You took accountability for not having the purpose that you had for the brand, and that you felt like you let the audience down,
Mhm.
right? And I think that was huge. And I think, dude, I think that's a big step in the right direction.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think taking accountability is
something
very
that's
important.
lacking nowadays that people don't like to be
Everybody,
accountable.
bro, it's lacking.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes I actually watched this video today in the morning on an Instagram page, and it was crazy because there's two like Cubans that they crashed, and they're both fighting
Blaming each
about
other.
blaming each other, and like that it was a crazy reel because it was like I've been thinking a lot about accountability and stuff, and it's something that I've been changing a lot, and it's like it popped up today right when I opened my phone, and I was like, man, this is a message, like. Literally, it's a message. There are two people blaming each other for who crashed who, like who's the fault, and I think it's very important to take accountability.
Something I've like, and one thing I appreciate, let's say, and not again, it's a person I consume a lot of content, so and one thing I like about Gary Vee, he talks a lot actually about, hey, be accountable. Like, for example, we have a lot of people maybe complaining about they hate their jobs, they're miserable in their jobs, they don't like their life, but it's like, hey, be accountable. Like, you can quit the job and go somewhere else, but then maybe I can't have these. I can't afford to pay what I'm paying. It's like, okay, then humble yourself. Like,
Humble
maybe
yourself.
then don't buy that. Get a cheaper car or get
Yeah.
a cheaper house. But people don't want to do that, so then they're still miserable in the job. So it's like, okay, then be accountable of the fact that because you don't want to go like live more humbly to a job maybe you do enjoy but you get paid less, then just put up with the decision of now versus just like say like bitching about it or complaining
Yeah.
about it. You know what I mean? But that's something that it was like, hey, be accountable. It's like everything that's happening currently in my life is because of whatever decisions I've made, be it good or bad decisions. But it's wherever I'm at right now is because of the decisions I've made. All of that I've made in the past have led me up to this point.
Yeah.
Am I happy or not with where I'm at? Okay, then if yes or no, then be accountable and change your decisions moving forward to
Yeah.
get you where you want to go. Otherwise, then like shut up and like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And I feel like a lot of people don't see things like that
Yeah.
of accountability. So I love that you mentioned that.
And the most important part is, like whenever you do change something, and whether it's your traits or whatever it is, whether it's taking more accountability or stop bitching and complaining, like, dude, it's gonna take time. Like you gotta be very disciplined and very kind of open minded, I guess, that it's gonna take time, but like fuck it, let's work through it.
Hell yeah.
Like, I
Grind through
fucking
it.
love that
Grind
phrase.
through it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
grind
Gotta
through it,
grind
man.
through it. Facts.
Yeah.
Victor, one final question now would be the following. This is going to be a little tricky question. So I'm
Let's
just,
go.
again, let's say you fast forward 10 years from now, 29-year-old version
Oh,
of
man.
Victor.
You're making me look in the future.
he stayed, like, as we like to say, rooted in God, rebuilt in the gym, relentless in the grind. What would that Victor 10 years from now, what does he look like to you in the sense of that aspect of, your career staying locked in? And again, I know 10 years from now is a long way to go,
Yeah.
but kind of where do you see yourself moving forward in life, going ahead, and, what's the future Victor look like?
Dude, I think for me, like I said, I like to stay in the present a lot.
Yeah.
But what I will say is I think what the future me would look like is not the person I was before. Is just becoming better at the traits that I lack in. And I feel like, however long it'll take, right? I hope that in the future I can look back at myself or look back at this podcast or whoever, whatever it is,
Yo,
and be
facts.
like, damn, like, yo, like, you've changed a lot, right?
That's awesome.
And so, I could be doing whatever it is, be a lawyer, whatever it is, right? But just, I think the most important part for me is looking back, whatever, 10 years before and being like, oh, damn, like, you changed a lot from who you were then to who you are now.
I love
And
that.
so I think I'm very excited to see where God takes me and where I can evolve, man.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Any final, let's say, words of advice or wisdom you want to leave the audience with as we wrap up today's episode? Any final words from you?
Yeah. I think the most important part, man, is find the purpose in what you're doing, whether it's studying or working or whatever you do in your daily life. Just find a purpose, stick to that, and dude, just find God first, right? Hit the gym and grind through it.
There you go.
G3X.
Let's go. And you guys heard that here first on the G3X podcast. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, please drop us a like, leave us a comment, subscribe if you haven't subscribed, because that also helps grows the YouTube page and more people get to hear Victor's story as well as all of our other guests that we have. Every Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern, we post a new episode. Victor, if the audience wanted to find you, what platforms are you on? Where could they follow you on socials or any platforms you're on?
Yeah, I'm mostly on Instagram, so I guess you can tag my Instagram.
For sure. I'll have it there in the description below for sure. And again, thank you everyone for watching. Again, like, comment, subscribe, share it to someone so more people are aware of today's episode of Victor's story. It's an awesome thing. And as we like to say here, God Gym Grind. You're rooted in God. You're rebuilt in the gym. You're relentless in the grind. Until the next episode. Peace out, everyone.